talk about 100 years of the Michigan and Border Cities Golf Course Superintendents.
It's hard to believe it's 100 years of people volunteering and putting together this association and funding this association. It really is a remarkable achievement, it really is. Yeah, so just let me go back and thank our predecessors. You know, in 1925, the reason why the association was formed was that there was no educational piece in there or no chance to get together and trade information. That's really why the association was formed and developed. It's just nice to see that the educational piece, you know, back in the day, you could not, there were no books, there was no science, there was nothing other than trading of information and sharing. And that's one of the strongest pieces that I think of our association is the ability to call somebody up and everybody's willing to give information.
Well, it existed for quite a few years before I came on board. I think a couple of years after I joined the association, we became the Greater Detroit chapter. So my involvement with Michigan and Border Cities were kind of limited to probably about 3 or 4 years. You know, what the chapter meant to me was, I mean, it was an opportunity to meet a lot of people in our industry, which, you know, being a golf course superintendent can be a pretty lonely position because, you know, you're not conversing with people on the job site on a day-to-day basis. And so for me, it was really the camaraderie and the relationships that I built through the chapter that I came to really love and enjoy.
I started a member of Michigan Border Cities in 1968. They adopted kind of me because I came out of the turf program from MTF in the first class. They actually educated me from a usage thing of growing grass on turf rather than just out of a book. All my personal friends were guys and families involved in the Michigan Border Cities. It was kind of like a way of life for us.
There was 2 colleges to get superintendents out of in the state. Clarence Wolfrom at Maple Lanes, they're 50-some years. You worked for Clarence and then you got put into the industry. You worked for Andy Bertoni at Meadowbrook, and from Meadowbrook you were placed. And most of the superintendents at the time, that's where they worked. They started out as on the crew and they learned from that. And Clarence and Andy really oversaw them, you know, if they got in trouble with losing a green or whatever.
I've got to mention Clem, Wolfrom, worked with them for 8 years. The ultimate professional, really showed so many people how to be a professional.
Oh, absolutely.
And walked in and Gordy said, "Has Dick, my green chairman, called you?" And I said, "No." And he said, "Come on, let's go for a ride." And so I said, "Why?" And he said, "Well, let's go." We took a ride and he said he got a call from my green chairman that he wanted to replace me and who could he recommend for me to take my position. And Gordy said, "I'm not going to recommend anybody because you have a good person in the position." So then he called Clem Wolfrom, who was the president of the local, and Clem basically told him the very same thing. And then he called Ted Worley, who was president of the national at that time, and he was the one who presented me my scholarship at Michigan State when I was there. And he told him the same thing. And so because of those 3 guys, I kept my job, and everything straightened out after that. And I was there for 17 years. So the organization was really helpful for all the young guys out there, you know, that were in positions. They had a lot of influence on clubs when they were hiring people.
The evolution of it, and guys like Clem Wolfrom and Ted Worley, Fritz McMullen, I know there's a million, Don LaFon, you know, these guys kind of laid the groundwork for us.
It was a good group to belong to. I realized it was important to stay connected to that group because we shared information, we did things together. It was a lot of camaraderie.
I think I told this story one time about needing a job, looking for a job, and all I did was call up one of my friend superintendents that I've known for years, and I says, "Geez, I need a job." He told me, "Why don't you come to work Monday?" So that's the type of organization it was. It still is.
I don't know how many people would say this, but I think everybody would have felt this, that they wanted to serve too. They wanted to help make the industry better.
Yep.
And that was definitely one of the reasons why I wanted to get involved, is I wanted to do my share to make the association better.
I would just like to thank all those guys that put the hours in that we did.
Oh, yeah.
We didn't have an executive director, we did it all ourselves. We just got done talking about all the work we did. All that work was done from our heart, and we enjoyed it tremendously, or we wouldn't have done it. Nobody would have done it. It taught us a lot of things about structure and how to handle jobs and how to give jobs out to other people and how you could trust the people that you were working with. It gave us a lot of good heart reward when we pulled things off to raise money for turf. We were very much involved in the Hancock Center at Michigan State, all the fundraisers we did to help the Michigan Turf Foundation, and golf course superintendents around the state of Michigan. So it's taught us that if you work together, it works easier and you get great camaraderie from it. So,
And it is a lot of work. It takes a lot of time to do this extra activities for the fundraisers and whatnot. And the gentlemen that are taking over now from our career when we were doing it, and that are ones that are taking over, they need to be well accomplished through what they're doing.
I think one of the things that cannot be lost is the importance of having face-to-face contact with their peers and actually working at developing relationships, because it'll come back to you tenfold. The time that you put into it will be well worth it. You're going to have so many more great memories when you do retire. You're going to have a lot more friendships that you would normally have without it. So I would just tell people that, do everything you can to meet up with the people that, share the same role that you have as a superintendent, and be willing to share.
this is unique that Charlie and I are sitting next to each other, because we met at my first golf course. I was at a golf course, 18-hole golf course in Chelsea. Charlie came with an irrigation company to put irrigation in. I left that club and came to this club. And I needed an assistant, so I called Charlie. He became my assistant right away. He realized I had good points and bad points, but he stuck with me. And then he left me and took on another job, and then he became president of the local, just like I was president of the local. It just goes to show you, if you work together, even if you like your boss or don't, it works. We've been long-time friends. He kind of helped raise my kids. When I go to the National, he watched my kids. We've been friends for 60 years, 50 years.
Yeah.
We're still close friends. And you don't find that very often. So it's a great job. It's very rewarding, but it is work. So you get what you put into it.
Probably my favorite thing to do was to get together with another peer superintendent and just have a beer and talk turf.
Yeah.
I would try to do that too much.
What he's describing is the value of working together as a team of guys doing the same kind of work, rather than just doing it, 5 different places themselves individually, coming together collectively. And it kind of demonstrates part of the value of what the association or like-minded people getting together and kind of comparing notes and trying to help each other out can do.
The golf course superintendents, Michigan border cities, had George Carson, and he had a paper called The Birdie, and it was mimeographed, and he would send a newsletter out, and it was on The Birdie. So they said, we got to come up with a better name than The Birdie. And they said, we're going to give somebody $10 who comes up with the best name. Jimmy Bertoni came up with the Patch of Green, and that's how that started. And then from the Patch of Green, getting it out monthly, selling advertisements, much like Adam's doing today, to make the thing work.
You got to wear a lot of different hats in this profession. I mean, you got to be a people manager, you got to be an agronomist, you got to be an electrician, you got to be a drain expert, you got to be, a mechanic, irrigation tech. I mean, you got to be an arborist, a horticulturist. I mean, you really need to know. You're not going to be an expert in all of those, but you need to know about them in order to manage the people who you're hiring to do them.
It's terribly rewarding, it really is. The pride that you have every day going out on your own golf course and going, holy smokes, look, this place looks great. And you had obviously a big part in that. But the pride that goes into that position, it would be great that, if there was further education and you were, I guess, rewarded with the recognition of the hard work that you put in. More and more it's happening at the national level. The superintendents are being mentioned, for all the large tournaments in the year.
I can tell you it is a great career. It's well rewarding. It's not for the weak. You got to stand up and do your job and be responsible. And I think they teach you that through turf school or wherever you might come. I happen to go through turf school in Michigan State, but if you don't go to turf school and you come up underneath another superintendent, they teach you those skills, and those skills are very useful for your life besides growing grass. I'd like to tell clubs that, your number one guy at the club, in my opinion, is the golf course superintendent. I mean, he's the guy that's making that property ready to play golf. So he also has to be a team member with a golf pro in the club in order to be there. So it's a mighty task to work at these facilities, grow grass. It's sometimes not easy to grow depending on Mother Nature. Well rewarding for everything you do.
Today, when you look at what level the superintendent is on it today, is a phenomenal thing at a club. He's allowed to come to the clubhouse. He integrates with the members. They know that the golf course can't survive without a good superintendent. The wages are competitive. It's a phenomenal thing. But it wasn't at the time, but it is now. And I remember they asked me to run a golf day in 1968. Ted Worley was at Oakland Hills. And we're going to do both golf courses. And I said, I'll guarantee I'll raise $10,000. I see him never raise $10,000. I said, I'm going to raise $10,000. I raised $12,000 that day. And we hauled golf carts from 10 different golf clubs on Sunday, all day. Took them back so they'd have them on Monday. But that was the start of it. And I get a call on the golf course. I said, Gord, they want to meet you on the bridge, going between the north and the south. Standing on that bridge was Gene Johanningsmeyer, Frank Foyer, Clarence, Wolfrom, and Clem. They said, we're going to tell you something, son. We think you ought to run for the golf course superintendent or the Michigan Turfgrass Foundation. And I said, be a true honor. He said, we've never had a supplier, but we're going to let you do that. It was something that I absolutely treasured. And I vowed then that no one would ever tell me we can't do something.
Well, I think the science of the industry has progressed. We were all trying to figure out how to get green speeds. We're all trying to figure out how to battle diseases. Those things are pretty well thought out these days. The green speeds now can just about get whatever you need. The rolling process to get the green speeds where they need to be, the fungicides that they've got, the fertilizers they have. Back in the mid-'70s, into the early '80s, much of that wasn't there. It was getting better, but not how it's progressed these days. So the science behind it, the information that's available, know that you can just open up your phone and gather all that information is not something that was available at the time. It was still in books. And so that's what's advanced is the science of the industry.
Ernie Fuller had a lot to do with the Hancock Turf Center up at Michigan State. While I didn't work for Ernie specifically, I worked for his other three brothers, and they were just awesome, committed people to the golf industry, and I want to thank them. I want to also remember Jim McGuire. Jim was a vendor. Mark and I spent, we would go to our conferences with, and Jim, the three of us, we would room together and We have a lot of really great memories about Jim McGuire. He's passed. He's been gone for about 15 years now. And then last but not least, just want to remember Joe Vargas, Michigan State pathologist who passed away this past year or so. You know, he was our Elvis Presley. He would dress up as Elvis and put on a nice show. And Joe, I really enjoyed those. So thank you so much for doing that.
And if you look at it today, from all of the efforts of those people, if we were at Forest Lake here today where we're at, and you saw a spot the size of a softball in the fairway, somebody wants to know what happened.
It's one of those industries that kind of, you know, once you get sucked into it, it's hard to leave it because it's always, you know, from my standpoint, I get to deal with so many different personalities, and it's very interesting. You have people like Marty and some of the other people you've already interviewed. You obviously, you know, everybody's different. Everybody's personality is different, and that was fascinating to me.
The camaraderie of everything and knowing everybody, and you still, even at our age, we still get together. We appreciate each other.
And there are superintendents, there are people from the industry, supply side and superintendents that are no longer here. And it's just a nice opportunity to reflect a little bit and think about some of those people that were instrumental in their activities with this association also over time.
You know what I remember most that we had going back in the day was the fact that we included our family in a number of things. We had annual picnics where we had 150 people come to picnics, including all of our kids, and the kids got to know each other. So that was a whole bunch of fun. We also had the annual Christmas party where all the wives got together, and we were all able to dress up and act like a member at the club, and so we traveled around to all the different clubs in the Detroit area. So those are some really good memories.
So as a kid, I remember going to some of these Michigan Board of Cities original summer picnics. There used to be one picnic every single summer, and the families would all get together, and there'd be a big picnic dinner, and the dads would go out and play golf, and the kids and the moms would play on the beach and play shuffleboard. And I have fantastic memories as a kid of those summer picnics, and that was part of the association. It was you know, I didn't know the people at the time, but the experience and the camaraderie behind it was a lot of fun.
I think the message would be that that we all had great friendships. These guys are all here because we all were kind of growing up in the association together. We all worked together back in the day for the picnics and the annual parties and all the things we did. And to say thank you to those guys and all of our predecessors who really did the heavy lifting prior to us. These guys are all special, they really are. I've worked with all of them at some time during the time I was on the board and then after. And so they're just a great group of guys. We all traded information, we all learned from each other, we all grew in the association together. And it's just glad that we could assemble this group together and have this kind of event.
So I only had 2 clubs I was at, and I loved every minute of it. And I loved it because the other superintendents and myself would meet and talk and do it face to face. That was old school, and I was old school. At that time it wasn't, because when I came into the industry I was 22 years old, and most of the superintendents were 60. So there was a age gap, but those people adopted us, taught us how to raise our families, showed us what family life was as well as working. A lot of quality people that really gave me a great life, and I'd like to thank them, all the people that brought that forward, because I was kind of a rebel. And they calmed me down, and I'm glad. I've been married to the same woman for 62 years. I have a son as a golf course superintendent. Charlie used to be my assistant, and he tried to educate me. We had a lot of time together and a lot of fun. And I'm not sure you see that all the time. So for me, it was a great experience to meet all these people and share our lives with them.
And actually, not only all the board of directors that kept this going, but all the local clubs in the area and throughout the state, and all of the members, even though they may not have served on the board, they were all contributed in some way to the success of the association. And you just have to thank all of those people that helped fund all of this, because without the money and the support and the work, this doesn't happen.
And I was in the neighborhood driving around yesterday and meeting with some of these younger superintendents. It's so cool. It's so amazing to me from those days of the bib overalls and the same route around here to see where they're at today. It's phenomenal. It's really exciting.
Golf in general is a people business. It's a relationship business.
Yes.
And that was one of the values of Michigan Board of Cities as a group. It's about bringing people together and sharing experiences and ideas. It's about building the relationships with other people.
Absolutely, and it's only bettered the golf course industry. We have the best organization in the whole country. There's none other in this country that has the kind of relationship and organization that we have, and a relationship with a research university that helps the future superintendents be able to do their job. So this organization has really put us at the top of the heap as far as the golf course business is concerned.
I think about the gentleman that put this association together 100 years ago. If you were asking them that question 100 years ago, what they would say about where we're at today, and I think they would be totally amazed.
And I'm just excited that I was a part of watching it grow. It's just fantastic to watch. And I think they will meet those challenges through the Golf Course Superintendents of America and our chapter. Thank you for all the great years you gave me and the fun I had working with all of you. Loved it.
Perfect. I think Michigan has done it right. I think uniting is the correct way to go, to have that cohesiveness and to have that structure. So I think years down the road, I think it's going to be a group of 50 different groups, and instead of I'm not sure how many there are, but there's got to be hundreds of groups that are out there.
And then, of course, the National Association, the GCSAA. I was a liaison when I was a board member with our national chapter and went to various meetings in Kansas there. And I was a certified golf course superintendent, so I went through the program. My golf course was a certified Audubon sanctuary, went through a 3-year program to make that happen. The association, our national association, is awesome. And for those of you superintendents out there looking to elevate your level of knowledge, you really need to be tapping into what the GCSAA offers, because the programs are endless. And the whole idea of elevating the profession definitely has been achieved through the GCSAA.
Okay, a favorite moment. Well, I can't. There's just a ton of moments. I'm glad you're going to edit all this, right?